Good morning, everybody. We are the Talking Hats here for this NFL Draft Saturday morning, and that's where we're going to start things off too. We're the Talking Hats. I'm Dale. That's Harish. We're going to get things going here with some NFL draft talk. Our next segment, we're going to get into, of course, the NBA playoffs, which are hot and heavy. And we might give a brief mention to the NHL playoffs, which are getting started here. The final games of the regular season just wrapped up, and we've got the seedings and everything lined up. So we're going to kick things off here. I've got my jersey on since we're going to talk some NFL draft talk. You know, this is the biggest moment in my life, the NFL draft back, what was it, 13 years ago now, I guess. Something like that, 12 years ago. So I don't know, whatever it was a long time ago, but that was a big moment in my life. So had to break out the jersey for that discussion. But Harish, go ahead and get us started with your thoughts on how things went yesterday and the day before with the NFL draft.
It literally threw me for a curveball. I was so shocked that all the defensive players that were supposed to kind of go in the middle, like late rounds in the first round, I would say, middle of the first round, and then in the second round, were like drafted so high, so early on. And with the offensive like receivers and everything going later rounds, you're just like, what did we get the okie doke or something? Like, what happened here? And I kind of see what certain teams were doing. Like, I mean, they were kind of snatching up like who they felt can improve their team because they were struggling in certain areas. Like, what really threw me for a loop was the Giants. I mean, they got that guy from Oregon who was
Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau. I was shocked that he went that high. I mean, I didn't expect him to go that high, even though he's a great talent. It's just that I didn't expect him to go that high. The Philadelphia Eagles pulling the trigger on another defensive lineman. It's just like, and then all of a sudden, when you come down to the Commanders, everybody was like, Olave. And they traded back to 16th with the New Orleans Saints, and they got Jahan Dotson. And we can get into this a little bit kind of later on because I have a lot. It kind of put everybody in I feel they got bamboozled a little bit, but in a way, I think it kind of made sense for what they did. I think it kind of makes sense. So I'm going to kick it back off to you to see what your thoughts were in the beginning, because I was shocked by how many defensive players, especially defensive linemen, were taken in the first I think 5-6 picks.
Yeah, I don't know how much that surprised me. This is one of those drafts that was billed as, you know, lacking in quarterback talent, but heavy in just, you want to build a team, you want to put some pieces. This is the draft. Like, this is one of those drafts. It comes once like every 5 or 6 years or so, where you can really bolster your offense or defensive lines. And that's what teams did here, especially at the top when you've got Trayvon Walker going first. He was a name that you didn't hear about him at first. But as things started to heat up in the past week, his name was the one being thrown out that he's probably going to be the one to supplant Hutchinson, and he did end up doing that. I don't know anything. I don't watch college football like I used to. I don't know a lot about him. I saw the film that they were playing during the draft as far as his raw talent. He has some speed. He ran like a 4.5. He looks pretty strong, but he was kind of positionless in college. And so with the guy who they drafted him to be an edge. He's listed as defensive end, but he's pass rusher. He's raw in that regard. That's not what he purely played at Georgia. So with the number 1 overall pick, I don't know if I'm taking a risk on a he's a project. But that's a very Jacksonville type of move. So does that really surprise you? Detroit, though, we're talking about, we can get into it later about how teams really help themselves. But man, Detroit did it. Hutchinson staying home, that's a great pick there. But back to what you were asking about, being surprised, that it started off defensive heavy. Like I said, I'm not really, because it's one of those drafts where this is one, you're not worried about taking a quarterback. This is the one where you're talking about we can solidify some holes, fill some gaps we've got with picks here, and that's what happened early. And then, like you said, we're gonna find out whether or not the Commanders got bamboozled by New Orleans. What the trade really was Olave for Dotson, because that's what ended up happening. If Olave turns out to be a star, I don't care about those later round picks. This was a miss, but I don't see. I can see Olave being a star. He's in a good situation down there with it. Michael Thomas is coming back, but who knows what you're going to get there. Olave is going to be expected to step in and be the guy. So their quarterback situation is in flux. But what I saw on Dotson, I never heard of it. I'm not gonna lie, never heard of him. You may have, being a Maryland fan, you may have seen what you're a Maryland basketball fan, but you may have seen what he did to Maryland this year. I heard it was a bloodbath, but I never heard of him. His film looks great though. And he was the guy that they wanted. They would have taken him at 11 if they thought anybody else was going to take him, but they knew he would make it to 16. That's why they traded out. He was the guy they wanted targeted. So
because the thing is, he plays in the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. So, being a Michigan football fan,
he would have played against Michigan too. You may have seen.
Yeah, I mean, his you can't doubt his skills. I mean, he's sure-handed. He apparently they say he has the best hands of all the receivers coming out.
Yeah, his film looked really good.
I mean, and you tweeted out like he makes bad plays look good, and that's a huge plus for any quarterback.
He's going to need that with Carson Wentz.
You just took my next line is because and I also felt that like we could have still drafted Olave and probably him at the same time because he could have fell to the second round. I had a feeling, but
maybe because like I said, I'd never heard of him.
Yeah.
No offense, Dotson. You please come on the show. But no offense, I'd never heard of it.
But the funny thing is, I think they made a great move strategically is because we were talking about do they want to move up or move down, and we're like, I mean, they can't move up, but there is a possibility of moving down. They got 2 extra picks. Yeah, they got 2 extra picks, and they got a guy. Even I think they were blowing smoke to everybody about Olave. Definitely. So New Orleans was like, oh my God, Olave's dropping to number 11, and maybe the Commanders may pick him at a number 11, and we're out of the guy that we really want. So I thought it was an okie doke, but I think the Commanders pulled an okie doke on New Orleans to be like,
Dotson's a baller.
I see. The thing is, I think he is going to be. I think he's the diamond in the rough out of all the receivers that were picked, because I think Olave, he's expected to do well. He's expected to do it. So is who's the guy from USC that got drafted? It was
Drake London, and he is in a situation to succeed down there in Atlanta because they have nothing else. They have him and Kyle Pitts. That's it. He can catch over 100 balls this year. If he's healthy, he's going to get those kind of targets. So
yep, and that's why I feel that Dotson has a less of a pressure on him to succeed, but his expectations are high. So when you're coming into a team that wants you to do really well and they want you to not go outside of what you know, you can be like, okay, the stress is there, but it's not overbearing because you do have Terry, you do have the other receivers, you do have certain pieces where he can come in. He can even be a kickoff returner he can be kickoff or punt.
I hope not.
So me neither, but I just feel that the pressure is on all of the other receivers that got drafted before him, and he can just play his game. And that's a very and I feel that Carson Wentz now has as we stated, they need to build around him. They need to give him as much weapons as they can, and I feel that he's like a Terry McLaurin number 2. His 40-yard dash, people are like, 40. You have to throw that out the window because I don't believe in 40. 40 is just a dog. It's a dog and pony show. They just want to see how fast you can run in a straight line. Football is not in a straight line. Football is zigzagging, how you can get off. So as long as you can beat your man, he's home free, and he's done that numerous times in college. So why can't he can't, I mean, you're telling me he can't transfer that to the NFL, which I think he can, and I think he'll succeed. And the offense that he's in, Scott Turner's offense is all predicated upon that. So I feel that the Commanders bamboozled New Orleans into something. So that's what I say.
When you say Scott Turner's offense, I'm hoping he's going to go back to the Norv style where it's run heavy and take that pressure off of Carson Wentz. I don't care about the weapons they have on the outside. I don't want Carson Wentz having to win the games. If it comes down to that, they're not going to be a winning team. But
go ahead. No, go ahead.
But he does have the weapons, which I mean is gonna hopefully take some of those excuses off his plate. He's got the pieces now. Now, everything right now is projections. We're projecting everybody's gonna stay healthy. If that's the case, and he can Dotson can play his role of the third receiver on this team, and next year he'll be the second because McLaurin's going to be gone. The third receiver this season, we can get into that later. If he can slide into his role of the third receiver this season with no pressure, and everything goes as it is, he's in a position where he can lead the team in receptions as the third receiver, because all the attention is still going to be on McLaurin because he's the guy, and he's the guy in a contract year. So people are going to be focused on that because he's going to be wanting to put up big numbers. So if you're doubling him, if Samuel, who knows what you're going to get out of him. But if he's playing a hybrid Debo role, he's not going to be reception heavy. He'll get catches and carries here and there. That leaves Dotson to fill that void of like catching the dump offs, catching the passes out of the slot. He can be a guy in his rookie year who can catch 70, 80 balls. He can if all goes well. I don't know how that lends itself to the team's success if he's catching that many passes. I want to see Gibson getting a bunch of carries. They drafted a running back, didn't they? Yeah, Robertson. I want to see these guys getting a bunch of carries. Even the tight ends, who knows who the starting tight end is going to be. But tight ends getting short passes. Keep the game short. Keep the passes short. Keep the games close. Pound the ball. Keep pounding is Carolina's motto. But since everything from Carolina is coming up to DC anyway, we can ball some keep pounding too. Keep the pressure off of Carson Wentz and play defensive Brandon. That's Ron Rivera's style anyway. So that's what I'm hoping to see. I
just want them now in the later rounds to draft like a corner and draft like a safety.
They drafted a defensive lineman second round. Let's see.
Yeah.
What was his name?
Fidarian Mathis. I think they drafted him a little bit too high, in my opinion.
Yeah, people hate the pick. Fans hate it. I've seen a lot of negative reaction on Twitter about that pick.
I like the pick, in all honesty, but I think they could have. Yeah, they could have taken him in the third or fourth round.
Hey, an Alabama guy.
So can we fairly say that the Commanders are Alabama 2.0 now?
Carolina and Alabama 2.0.
Yeah, Carolina and Alabama 2.0.
But with them, his agent told him to be expected to be picked in the third or fourth round. And I don't know that that's something they should have put out there, because that makes the Commanders look bad for reaching. But you can't doubt the need, because Deron Payne wants out. So that's probably a move that's going to happen at some point in the offseason here. If it doesn't happen this offseason, he'll be gone after next offseason. Ioannidis is gone. So they have a need there. I don't hate it. I don't know anything about the guy, of course. I never heard of Fidarian Mathis, but there's a need there. So
that's the thing, though. I think because JP Finley from B Mitch and Finley was like, they've drafted players with a high floors, but they didn't draft players with like a high ceiling. And I'm thinking to myself, I do agree with that statement, but I'd rather have a high floor than a low floor.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, a high floor is a high ceiling for that individual. And you're drafting, you know exactly what that individual is. And as you stated in the beginning of the show, this is a perfect draft to fill your lineup. Yeah. And we all know Duran is not. I was surprised he didn't get traded yet, like in a trade deal or something to get draft picks or.
Yeah, the draft is still going, so anything can happen, and that's probably why they did it. Maybe they're planning to do it here in the next day.
Hopefully, and if that happens, then this pick looks like genius, because I've seen film on this guy. He is very good. He's a run eater. Even though they're eighth in the last year, JP Finley was saying they were number 8 in run. But at the same time, you don't want to be number 8. You want to be like in the top 5.
Yeah, and I'm going to give anybody from Alabama a high floor. And what a high floor really means is that's pretty much bust proof. You might not come in and be a Pro Bowl player, but you're not going to be a bust. You can be depth at the very least. And they lead depth there. I don't know if you want to draft depth in the second round, but you after the first round, even in the first round, you don't know what you're going to get. Nothing is guaranteed. But if you can draft solid depth in the second round, I'll take it. I'm not going to argue with that.
100%. And I love their pick of Brian Robertson Jr. I love that pick because he's a bruiser. Like with Gibson's fumbling that's happened in the last, I think in all honesty, like you can correct me if I'm wrong, fumbling can also happen because of fatigue. If you keep on running, and if you're not used to it either, because
he's not a natural running back. So
exactly, he's a receiver that turned into a running back. So eventually, your hands kind of can get fatigued by the jamming and the scraping and people hitting your hands. So it can also be mental. I mean, maybe it is, and maybe this might like the fire under Gibson. Say, hey, I don't want to do this. But what's secretly about Robinson Jr. is he's also a great pass catcher. So with McKissick and Robinson Jr., that can alleviate the pressure off of Gibson, which I think this team kind of sorely needs. But they also do need to kind of shape up their offensive line. They need a little bit more kind of oomph in it. So I think hopefully today is the today's like the 4th round. Hope they go O-line, so at least they can solidify some depth in the O-line, and maybe in the later rounds like a stud corner or a stud safety. I mean, I was hoping they got that Georgia linebacker that I was so high on, but the Eagles got him. I was pretty pissed about that.
I don't know about him. I've seen too many red flags from an injury standpoint with him.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like, people thought he was going to go really high.
Mm-hmm.
You
said he was going to go down.
I would only touch a dude with that many injury concerns if he didn't get drafted. Then I'd sign him. I would never draft a guy with that. He's supposed to be really good. He has a torn pec he doesn't want to get fixed. He has a messed up shoulder he doesn't want to get fixed. And there was something like an Achilles or some kind of, maybe a knee concern. Something else I was reading about him. He doesn't want to get any of this stuff taken care of for some reason. I don't get it. I don't dig that. I'm not in. He might be a star, but that's too much. There are other guys. I mean, I'll take somebody healthy. I can't. I can't get down with that.
But we have to touch on the Detroit Lions.
We might look back on this and be like, you were completely wrong. He might be a Pro Bowl, like all-pro player, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean, with all those injuries, it's really difficult to kind of, because a torn pec, if anybody knows, you can't really do anything. You can't lift your arm. You can't do anything. So I don't know how he's going to come into the season and try to perform. Not if he's have some miracle, medical stuff that happens, but it's highly unlikely. But we have to give credit to the Detroit Lions going from the 32nd pick to the number thing to pick up your guy that you said that was the Alabama receiver that you really liked. With the ACL injury,
Jameson Williams, yeah.
I'm
kind of surprised he wasn't the first receiver taken, but I think they got a steal there in him. But and also Aiden Hutchinson, they in the first round, they've changed their entire team. I already thought they were a team to make an improvement going into next season, but with these 2 picks, they went from a team that might sniff 500 maybe. I mean, you can't really go 500 with 17 games, but I thought they were a team that could be somewhere around there. But now I think they're a team, they put themselves in a position to win that division.
Yeah. Wow.
Green Bay's not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to be a playoff team. They just drafted a receiver yesterday from North Dakota State. North Dakota offensive players, they have potential because their offense always has some firepower. But you don't know what to expect out of that. Aaron Rodgers can make them good, maybe. But that's a huge question mark. And then the rest of their team is not very good either. They're not going to be a playoff team. The Bears, I don't see that either.
Yeah.
People like Justin Fields, I don't see it. The Vikings, who knows? I mean, Kirk, who freaking knows? But the Lions, they're in a position to really make a run here. And it's their time. They've got a very solid quarterback, and now that quarterback has a weapon in Jameson Williams. Tyreek Hill comps, I love it. I love the pick. I love the Hutchinson pick. They're going to make some noise. They're very good.
I'm happy that they just said, you know what, screw it. Like, let's go all in. We have the QB. We feel that he's right. And he is right. He is right. And
I like Jared Goff.
Yeah, Jared Goff is a good dude. I mean, he just got a raw end in St. Louis, or sorry, LA. It's LA still, right? It's LA Rams, right? Okay, good. With all that moving into West Coast, I have no clue.
Started in St. Louis.
He started in St. Louis
because he was under Jeff Fisher, and they were still in St. Louis at that point.
Jared Goff?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good tidbit. Wow, I haven't heard. Wow, okay, that makes sense then. Yeah, before they went to LA. Okay, because I was thinking that with the Lions drafting that wide receiver, all they need is another complement. Who's their starting receiver? Is it? Or they don't even have a real starting receiver for the Lions.
Oh gosh, they do have somebody. I can't pull it. I can't pull it off the top of my head. But they do. I think DJ Chark is there now.
Okay.
I think that's right. And so, if that's true, if I'm not lying about that, he's solid. And then they'll complement each other well because he's bigger. Chark is bigger, so that'll be a nice compliment. Yeah. And then they've got TJ Hawkinson too at tight end, and he's excellent. Yeah, TJ Hawkinson he's a top 5 tight end. He's very good.
I call him Hawkinsack because I can't pronounce his name.
TJ Hawkinsack.
TJ Hawkinsack. I picked him in my fantasy, I think a year and a half ago. He was solid. Solid. He's good. So I think Detroit literally threw their cards on the table and said, "We got it." And he won't. And with his ACL injury, people were scared, but his workout regime and the video he posted doesn't look like he got an ACL injury at all. And they say he'll be ready by October. So we have to see how he kind of comes in and plays like in the game. He was pretty determined in the interview. He was so angry. He's
probably mad he got drafted to the Lions, but he won't be, because even if he doesn't end up liking Michigan, the way he's going to be used there, he'll set himself up to be in a position to get a good contract elsewhere if that's what he so chooses. But I think they'll be good enough that he won't want to leave.
Exactly.
For once.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll actually do something here.
Yeah, and overall, I mean, if I have to give like the Commanders a draft grade, I probably will have to give them like a B-. The reason why I give them a B- is because they drafted that defensive lineman way too soon. Yeah. I mean, they had a lot of other stuff they could have drafted in his thing, but he was kind of a reach. So, in my opinion, a solid B-.
I'll give him a B+ because the drafting Dotson, like I said, that's the guy they wanted. They targeted him. He was all they wanted at receiver. They weren't looking at Drake London. They faked about Olave. They wanted Dotson, and they got their guy even after moving back. So that's a great move. You get your guy and you move back and pick up picks. They accomplished what they wanted in the first round with the second round pick. I'm assuming they targeted him too to take him in the second round. He wasn't projected to go there. He must have been exactly who they wanted, and they took him. So if you get the guys you want, I got to give you a good grade for that. We'll see how these guys turn out, but early projections, I'll give them a B.
Yeah, that's not bad, man. B and B- is pretty solid. Because usually, I mean, last year when they got 2 years ago when they got Chase Young, they got like an A+ or something. But I'm like, he was the best player. You have to have taken him. But
now the Broncos, I'm going to give an A+ for their draft because with their first pick they took Russell Wilson. So you get your starting quarterback with your first pick. Not going to argue with that. Great pick. Their second round pick, they drafted they had the last pick in the second round. They drafted an edge rusher from Oklahoma, Nick Bonito. Never heard of him. I don't know anything about him, but that's a need. So I don't know if he's a great player, but he has a good name. I think he'll come in with Bradley Chubb and Randy Gregory. Like he's in a position where he doesn't have to come in and be the guy. He should come in and do well being the third rusher. He's in a position to succeed. That's a good defense and a good scheme. Great coaches on the defense too. So that pick can only work. Barring injury, he should be great.
Benito's very fast. Like he when he comes
that's
up,
a name that sounds fast.
Yeah, because his because for Oklahoma, like he leads that team. Like he's really good at what he does. And there's like diamonds in the rough. And I think he's one of the diamonds in the rough on a team that's already is stud filled with defensive ends and linebackers. So is he going to come in as a specific D end, or is he going to come in as like a linebacker? Or you think are they going to shift him over to linebacker? Or
not quite sure what their scheme is going to be. Their coach comes from the Rams, and I think the Rams ran. Okay, so you had Aaron Donald in the middle, or I think they run a 3-4 or some kind of
like a hybrid,
out there in LA. So I would assume he'd bring the same scheme here.
Yeah.
And, you're going to have Chubb and Gregory coming off the edges. Like I would assume as linebackers. I can't see either one of them being down. They're both linebacker types. So with that being the case, I don't know Benito's size. Do you know that by any chance?
I think he's like 6'3". I think he's a big dude. He's not small.
If he's like 250 or below, he'll probably be back on one of those guys up. If he's like 270, then he can play down.
Yeah. How do you spell his first? Is it Nick Bonito, right?
N-I-K. B-O-N-I-T-T-O.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay. Because I was just like, he's 6'3". Yeah, he's 6'3".
And weight?
240. So
he'll be a linebacker then. So he'll be backing those guys up for now, barring injury. So that's where he'll slide in. And then Christian Watson is the guy that the Packers picked in the second pick in the second round. Let me see if I can get his height up here. I don't know anything about the guy, to be frank. Christian Watson.
You know what?
But he's gonna go there and probably be a 6'4". He's a big dude, 6'4", 208.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I'm going to say this, and this is going to go on record. I don't care. I think the Packers are reaching because they let go all their studs.
They had to, yep.
I mean, they had to. So, like, they're hoping that the people that they pick are the people that are going to be there for 3, 4, 5 years, because
they drafted two pretty solid defensive players in the first round, and I'm sure that irked Aaron Rodgers. saying
Oh, yeah.
defensive guys go first. They haven't drafted a receiver or an offensive skill position in the first round in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. That's
So I don't know. If I would have gotten, for me to stay there for him, like I would have gotten a commitment from them to go receiver first or move up to get one of the top flight receivers.
Yeah.
Because he said on the Pat McAfee podcast earlier this week that he didn't know Devontae Adams wasn't coming back. He thought that they had the understanding that they were going to come back and play together. He didn't know that was going to happen. I'm sure that I'm sure, 100% sure he would be wearing these colors if he had known that was going to happen. He would have made that move to Denver if he'd known he wouldn't have any weapons staying in Green Bay. There's no chance he would have gone back.
Yeah. And that leads into a great segue to Philly, how they got A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans and
then paid him.
And paid the man. So there's talks about, is this what's going to be for the future, is you have a receiver who plays there for 5 years. After the 5 years, you have to pay him. What are you going to do with them? And now did Tennessee kind of showed the roadmap is, well, we're not going to pay you. So we'll just draft somebody who's just like you and pay him because it's cheaper.
That for this move, that was a smart move to do that. AJ Brown is fine, but he has had some injuries here and there. He's only 24 years old though. So he's still very young and a proven top flight receiver. So Philly, I'm not going to hate the fact that they picked him up and paid him. But I do love the fact that Tennessee moved on. They, like you said, I think they pretty much drafted him again and getting Treylon Burks or Treylon Burks. They're not going to have any drop off there.
Except for the quarterback.
Well, that leads us into it.
Yes,
they got the steal of the draft, in my opinion. Now, this is not everybody is a consensus on this, but there are people coming out saying that Malik Willis is going to be a top 10 pick. I never saw that. I thought he might be a first round pick, but the Tennessee stole him in the third round. Great move there. Tannehill is now on the hot seat. He's going to come in and he's going to have time to learn. I think Tannehill will play the entire season, but then after that, he's gone. And this will be Malik Willis's team. And I think he'll step in there and be like a Steve McNair type. I think he's going to be a very steady hand at the position. Wow. I think that's a fair comp too. And I think that's going to play itself out. He has a great arm. He's mobile. And learning the system for a year, all that rawness is going to be taken away. He'll step in next year, and this will be his team, and he's going to run the show with decent receivers too, and Robert Woods and Treylon Burks.
Yeah, and he got drafted, and Derrick Henry. He got drafted where he was supposed to get drafted in the third round. That's where he was supposed to be.
For him. Right team, right everything. Yeah,
and now what's crazy is, I think the Eagles missed out on a quarterback too, because Jalen Hurts, in my opinion, is not their future. He does have deficiencies, and you have high caliber receivers now. And if you don't get them the ball they're gonna start chirping, because they were once let's say they were all A's. Now you're gonna put them to like a 1A position. They're not going to like that. So we have to see how that plays out, because even though you drafted well on the defensive side and the offensive side with the linemen and also the defensive tackle, you have to see yourself as, how can you get the balls to these individuals now? You made the trade. You have to get them the ball. And that's going to be interesting to see. I think Malik Williams, surprisingly, I think he may even come in the middle of the season as Tannehill struggles again to throw the ball.
I hope not. I don't care how much Tannehill struggles. If you don't make the playoffs this year, that's fine. I don't think you sacrifice his future, because I think he has that kind of potential. I don't want to see him on the field this year. Even injury, I don't want to see him on the field.
You don't want to see it all.
They should let him sit all year and develop, learn, and then debut his skills next season. And so what I think Philly did in picking up AJ Brown, I think they catapulted themselves to the best team in the NFC East, even with Jalen Hurts. I think Jalen Hurts is solid. If you look at just his numbers passed the eye test, and then his results on the field, they were a playoff team. I mean, I think they're the best team in the division. I think Dallas is going to drop off and lose to the Browns, the receiver. Dang it was just in my head. You know who I'm talking about. It slipped my mind. He's the great receiver, though. I'm gonna move on. But I think Dallas is gonna have a drop off there. The Commanders, I said if they drafted a receiver, they'd be solid. They did. Wasn't the receiver I was expecting, so I don't know what to say about them yet. But I think either way, they'll be second best team in the division to the Eagles. Eagles, I think, could reel off 12 plus wins. I feel confident in projecting that. They're solid on both sides of the ball. They even picked up some another defensive lineman. What's his name? Jordan Got it here somewhere. They picked up the defensive tackle from it's up here somewhere. Just a sec. Bear with me, guys. This is all the new and fluid information here that we're dealing with. I think it's Jordan Davis before I get to it, but let me confirm it. Yeah, the Eagles picked up Jordan Davis from Georgia, and Georgia had the top defense. So, and a lot 5 or 6 Georgia defensive players got drafted in the first round, something like that. And the Eagles got one of them in Jordan Davis, who's a monster. His film looks excellent. He's a great player. And you throw him on the defense with Fletcher Cox, I mean, man, that's going to be a scary defense. The Eagles are going to be scary.
Jordan Davis is 6'6", bro.
Yeah, I mean, he's a freaking monster. So
yeah, he's insane. And they also picked up another. Oh yeah, they picked up Nakobe Dean, which is kind of like there. They also picked up the center from Nebraska. So I think he's a replacement for Travis Kelce. Not Travis Kelce, but
Jason Kelce.
Jason Kelce, yeah, his brother. Cameron Jurgens, he's good too. Anybody from the Big Ten, if you're gonna go, you might as well just go with the Midwest boys at any offensive or defensive line positions. But
and I want to throw some props to the Ravens who got Kyle Hamilton. He somehow slid down to them. That's going to be great. He's going to fit right in there, step right in as a starter, be an impact player there. That's a coup. That's a great move.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised he fell that far. I mean, and I guarantee you, because all the defensive linemen were getting drafted so high. They were all getting drafted so high. And then also the receiver, the big receivers were getting drafted right after that. So, I mean, he snuck in, and that's why I wanted to if the Commanders could have picked him up somehow, like made a trade or did something to get him, that would have been a really good pick too. But
yeah, of course would have liked to have seen that. I liked Kyle Hamilton. I would have loved to see him in the Commanders colors, but
yeah,
we'll be seeing him in Baltimore.
Yeah, B-More got themselves a great player, though. They just got themselves a great player.
Houston had a solid draft too, getting Stingley, and then they got a receiver in the second round. Sauce Gardner to the Jets, who also had an outstanding draft. The Jets got Garrett Wilson too. So no more excuses, Zach Wilson. He has some weapons. So
I like Sauce Gardner.
They should improve. He's a good player.
Yeah,
they should improve too.
And we forgot the Giants, man. The Giants, I think, had a pretty solid draft too. I think they have I think they got a pretty solid, even though they could have got a quarterback. Yeah, but I'm hearing that Baker may go over there.
I wouldn't be surprised by that. They did the right thing by not picking up Daniel Jones's option. That means he's out. He might be the starter this season unless they get Baker. I think picking up Baker is picking up Daniel Jones light. They're the same guy to me. They're not going to be any good. If they win a game, I'll be surprised. They freaking suck. They freaking suck. But every division needs that, and they're going to be that for the NFC East.
Oh wow,
they stink.
Yeah, I hope not, because I thought I'd rather have Dallas stink than the Giants, but in this situation, maybe.
See, Dallas has a quarterback, so they're not going to be horrible. I wouldn't be surprised if they missed the playoffs. Yeah. They should have moved on from Zeke like 3 years ago. That's eating up a lot of their salary cap. They could have kept Amari Cooper, is the name I was slipping on.
That's the one, yeah.
Amari Cooper. They could have kept him and let Zeke go, but whatever. It's the Cowboys. I don't care about them. Screw them.
Yeah. It's Jerry Jones.
Yeah. So fourth round today, 4th, 5th, and 6th, and 7th.
Yeah, 4th, 5th, and 6th.
All that crap today. Broncos pick up some more depth there. They need some offensive line help. So do the Commanders. Cosme's fine. Whatever. I think they need to find a tackle here. Draft somebody who's huge and has decent feet, and then try to develop them into the starter there. If you go into the season with Cosme as your starter, they're going to be in trouble. Cosme's a depth guy. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think
I worry about that. I worry about the offensive line. I like Leno too, but Leno's a smaller left tackle. I like him as a dude. He's a good dude, but he's a smaller left tackle. He's going to be the starter no matter what. But I would love to see them get some depth there. They need some depth on the offensive line.
And I think they may, if they don't choose a corner. So in the 4th round, they have the 8th pick. In the 8th pick, I think they should go corner or safety. And then in the later pick up, because they have their 15th pick in the 4th round too. So then go O-line. And then solidify the O-line. And then when you get to the 6th, the 7th, because they have 1/6 at number 10. At that position, get a linebacker or something. Or if you have the best, if on your board, if you have a linebacker that you want to get at the 8th pick in the 4th round, take him and then move on, and then take your offensive lineman like the next 2, and then draft like
what
the
if
thing.
At one of their picks, a guy like Matt Corral is there?
No.
I wouldn't hate it. I don't love him as a player, but if you can have somebody in to develop and then trade Heineke. There have been some rumblings about Heineke wanting to be traded. I don't think that's officially come out, but I wouldn't hate it if they took a quarterback and then traded Heineke. Let him go off somewhere and have an opportunity.
So the thing is, next year is quarterback heavy, they say. So you rather draft it next year.
But next year, if you're drafting a quarterback, if they're in a position next year where they have to draft a quarterback, then they're going to be drafting high. So, so I'm not worried about a depth guy then. That's why I'm talking about a depth guy now.
See, but the thing is, if you're gonna, they probably are going to draft a quarterback. But they always do. They always draft like some unknown quarterback, like in the later rounds, just to have somebody.
I've always said that's what I would do, just to have a guy in the building and see if you've got something. If you don't, it was a late pick. Who cares?
Yeah, and I also think they're going to trade Heineke maybe in the next coming days with Deron Payne, like a package deal, just package them off. Something. And then, maybe package him off to Cleveland. Who knows?
For Baker?
For Baker Mayfield? No, that's never going to happen.
Desmond Ridder to the Falcons too. That's a good pick by them. He's pretty good. He's a little raw. I think getting a year behind Mariota, he should be. I think he can be their guy going forward. He's got talent, so maybe they can develop him into something. That was a good pick.
Yeah, the quarterbacks that got drafted, like Kenny Pickett to the Steelers.
I don't get that one, but I'll trust in Tomlin. I don't get it though. I don't like.
I'll put it this way: I think Kenny Pickett is like a Big Ben with small hands.
Nah. No, I can't comp him to Big Ben. Big Ben was great. At Miami, Ohio, he was great.
Yeah.
Kenny Pickett is.
You think he's average? Just whatever?
I can't see him ever being an impact player. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I don't see it.
I think he'll be okay. I don't think he'll be like super high. I don't think he'll be super. I think he'll just be a middle of the road like starter where you'll get the wins. You'll be happy with him, but I don't think he will put you over the edge in the next 10 years.
See, I'm also a Mitch Trubisky guy too, so I would be surprised if Kenny Pickett ever plays because I think Mitch is going to get in there and take his opportunity and run with it. I think the Steelers will be his team.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but the thing is, he'll learn under Mitch. Mitch is a great. I like Mitchell Trubisky. I never had any doubt. I think he was just in the wrong system in Chicago, and they gave him a wrong deal. Nagy's a horrible coach. I just don't like him. He's ruined Justin Fields, even though Justin Fields is not a good quarterback. He could at least made him somewhat decent. But I'm surprised. Did Nagy get fired? No, right? He's still there.
No, he's out. He's back.
Oh, he was out, right? Oh, he went back to Kansas City. Kansas City's going to suck anyway. So
the potential for that is there because they lost Tyreek Hill. So
that was like 95. That was like 95% of their offense.
Yeah, man. That's going to hurt. So with us being on the NFL talk here, I want to throw something at you just off the top of your head. With the draft going on, what team do you think helped themselves to the point where, a team that wasn't a playoff team last year helped themselves to the point where they'll be up every year? There's a team that didn't make it the year before and they get in. What team is going to be that team this year because of what they did in the draft?
What you said is Detroit. I felt Detroit. They had some big cojones for going from 32nd in the first round to go to numbers. Like I forgot what number they went up to, but they just said, we're in it to win it. You don't make those moves of not doing it. I mean, Hutchinson's going to change that locker room. He's a proven leader defensively. Don't be surprised if the Detroit Lions defense is stacked. Like they have a pretty solid defense. And with that move they made to get the Alabama wide receiver, who was supposed to be like the top 5 out easily in the first round, they said that we want you. And with Jared Goff at QB, he has a weapon now, and he's going to feel the love. So they're going to be not a surprise team, but they're going to be a very formidable team to go against because all the games last year they've lost by a field goal or a play here and there. So they're in the game. They just need to win the game, and they have the capabilities now to win it.
I'm torn between the Ravens and the Saints.
Okay.
I, of course, would have gone with the Lions, but I'm going to zag since you zigged. I'm torn between the Ravens and the Saints. I'm going to go with the Saints because they got an impact player on Olave, and then they got some other help later on the defensive side too. I'm going to go with them because the Ravens have a tougher division. So I'm sure they'll be a playoff team. Lamar Jackson is still there. I'm sure they will be. So that's the safer pick. With the tougher division, I'm going to go with the Saints. I think they've got an easier road to the playoffs. So
not bad. Not bad. I'll even say the Commanders.
I'll tell you what, they should make it. If they don't, wholesale changes. Wentz is out, Rivera's out, the Martys are out. So Marty
Schottenheimer's are there?
Marty Herney and
Marty Herney and Martin Mayhew. The double M&Ms. They're not well, I mean, I'll put it this way. They had a decent draft. I mean, we gave them the grades. Can't argue with it. Can't deny it. You know, they pulled the wool over our eyes. I mean, I didn't expect them to go that way, but you know, now we kind of see like what their intentions are. Now they're throwing smoke like every other team does, and then when we think they're going to go zig, they go zag. So I like it. It was new. I was angry, but when you sleep on it, because when you're with this team for 25 plus years, you expect the same thing. You're like, all right, this is what's going to happen. And when they do something different, you get angry. Oh, why did they do this? Why did they do that? But when you sleep on it, get a good, nice rest, you can be like, that. In my opinion, I think that was a genius move. Yeah. I think it was a genius move. And
so you got any more draft talk there, or should we wrap up first segment?
We're good. I mean, we said we had to say.
All right, we are the Talking Hats. We're going to wrap up this segment here. Follow, like, subscribe. Support us. We'll support you. We'll be right back. We're the Talking Hats, and we're back here for some NBA playoff action. We're going to get started with, let's start with the series that ended last night, the Minnesota and Memphis series. We'll talk about that and then head on to how everything else played out. So go ahead and get us started there with the Memphis and Minnesota series.
I loved it. I'm happy that Towns was crying. I loved it that they beat him in Minnesota. I loved that. I loved how John Morant monsterized dunk, poster size, whatever you want to call it, dunk of the future, whatever you want to say. I just like the way the Grizzlies played. You can't take anything away from them. They were just wow. Minnesota, you have to give the golf clap. They did what they did, but they're young. And that's what makes them very dangerous for the future. But if they don't learn from their mistakes, they're never going to win. Towns cannot start shooting from the outside thinking he's Dirk Nowitzki. As Dale has stated numerous times, and I have as well, you're 7 foot something or 6'10", whatever, you're astronomically tall. Get into paint and score your 20 to 30 points and 15 rebounds a game like Joker. Do that. If you do that, you're going to help your team instead of hurt your team. And I felt that they're so young, they want to do them like the me way instead of the we way. There's also the me way when it comes down to it, it's me. But when you're trying to get to it, it has to be we. And they're not playing we ball, they're playing me ball. And it showed yesterday because the Grizzlies just took it to them. Even though it was close at one point, they pulled away in the fourth quarter. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, the Grizzlies are freaking bullies. So John Morant's the Ferrari, and then Desmond Bain and Dylan Brooks, those dudes are like Mack trucks protecting that Ferrari. So Minnesota had a lead, and I think every game in this series, and they had big leads in some of them. Last night's game, they were fully in control of the game, and they, like you said, this series was it was an education for them. They're a team that has the talent to make some noise. They could have made some noise this year. They could have closed out these games. They would have given Golden State a challenge. They would have given them a run because they have Anthony Edwards, a dude who's all heart. But what this series did for a guy like that, it was an education for them. It's going to show them what they need to do to close out games next season. And they're going to be dangerous. They'll be in the Western Conference Finals next year. I'm throwing that out there right now because they're that good. They've got that kind of talent. And all they need is an Anthony Edwards. He turned Karl Anthony Towns around as a player Karl Anthony Towns was playing like butt towards the end of the season, but he stepped up I'll give him props because he stepped up for the most part in the playoffs. They didn't close out these games, but he played well. He played at a level where he needs to play, but that needs to be sustained throughout all 4 quarters for them to close out these games. Anthony Edwards played well throughout every game. He was hitting big shots at the end. He just didn't have the help at the end. He'll have that next year. The coach learned from his mistakes. They're going to be dangerous, but all credit to Memphis where it's due. They're bullies. They're going to rough up Golden State. They're not going to back down from Draymond Green and his trash talking. They're going to give them a run. That's going to be a highly entertaining series, as this one was. This, in my opinion, was the best series to watch. If you're just watching basketball, it was so back and forth, so physical, just high-level basketball. It was very enjoyable to watch. I'm looking forward to that next series, Golden State and Memphis. I don't plan to miss a game. That's going to be some great basketball there.
7 games, man. I think it's going to go 7.
Yeah,
I think it's going to go 7.
I can see that. Barring injury on either side,
yeah,
that could go 7. John Morant keeps them in the games, man. He's such a warrior.
I mean, like, we knew when he came out of Murray State that he's going to be something special. And he's proving it day in and day out. And with the help, this reminds me of like the old Memphis Grizzlies where they had Zach Randolph and Mark Gasol, but this team is more finesse with the bullying in them. So it's almost like, how are you going to play them? Are you going to go like, if you're going to go mano y mano, they can play mano y mano. If you want to run up and down, they can run up and down. They have, surprisingly, they have the 3-point shooting. I mean, they're not lacking it, and they're getting hot at the right times during games. So Golden State, like, my only thing with Golden State is they can blow the doors off of you or they can just hang with you. So there's no in between. So if they have to blow their doors off, they're just going to come and just outscore you. But I don't think you can do that with Memphis. I don't think you can.
Yeah, they were pretty even during the regular season, but Clay didn't play in any of those games. So That's, of course, going to make a difference. But I don't expect to blow out anywhere because John Morant, like, they could have been blown out in that series, but John Morant kept them in every single game. So I don't see that. I just see physical back and forth basketball, and whoever wins the series, this series is going to take a lot out of them going into the next round. Yeah. So it's going to be very entertaining. But on to the Suns, who had a little bit of a struggle with the Pelicans, and Alvarado, he's freaking annoying. I don't usually like players like that, and I don't know that I like him either. But I respect the fact that he helped them hang with the Suns. My God Devin Booker being out, that helped them too. But he came back for the last game there and gave them a little boost to get them over the hump. That was a pretty good series too overall. But I think the Suns did what they needed to do. Chris Paul, I hope that having to shoulder the load there didn't take too much out of him. Going against Alvarado, that I could tell he was kind of spent at the end of those games, but he should have a little bit lighter of a load to carry there with Booker back. Ayton stepping up. I mean, they're solid. So the next series should be another good one.
Yeah, my biggest fear is what you stated is Chris Paul overworked. Is he too exhausted from all that what Alvarado put on him in the last couple of games? With Booker coming back, he looked okay. He looked good, but I don't think he's the same.
Not 100%.
Yeah,
he didn't look 100%.
And that's what scares me is he going to tweak it again if he's going to go all out? Because you do need to go all out now with these games. And has that taken a toll on the team? And are they going to play up to their capability, or are they going to just be in the middle? And that's what we have to see. I hope not. I hope it's an entertaining series, but with so many what ifs, I don't see them moving on past this series.
Yeah, that's not a crazy thought because Dallas handled business against Utah, even without Doncic there in the first couple of games. You had Brunson step up, and so that helps his confidence in the playoffs, and so that gives Doncic some more help. That the Suns, this will not by any means be a cakewalk for the Suns. This is going to be both Western Conference Finals teams are going to come in worn out because both of these series are going to be physical. They have the potential to be long, and Dallas could very well, with Luka, man, they could very well take this series from the Suns. This is another one that's going to be very entertaining. So I'm definitely looking forward to some more playoff action there out of the Western Conference.
Part of me don't want the Dallas Mavericks to win because of Dinwiddie and Bertans. This part of me just was
Bertans isn't playing, so he hasn't sniffed the court.
Really? Okay. I haven't really like kept up with.
No.
I just don't want. I know Dinwiddie said what he had to say. I just felt kind of spited. That's all. Just a little spited. That's all.
Hey, he didn't want to leave. They wanted him to leave, so I don't.
I know. I'm just being like,
yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But what about predictions? Both of those games are going to go 7.
Who wins?
Both of those series are going to go 7.
Who wins?
I will say that's hard because
it is.
Because in Dallas versus Dallas versus Suns, I will have to pick Dallas. I'm picking Dallas to beat the Suns. I'm going to say the Grizzlies are going to beat the Warriors.
Wow. 2 upsets.
Yeah, 2 upsets because you just see something different in the Grizzlies. It's just that they don't back down. Even when they were down by 12 or even 20 points, they just don't back down. They learn. The thing is, they learn from their mistakes and they just blow the doors off. I don't know if you can do that against Golden State, but I just feel that they have that mentality now that I don't care. Yeah. So, and with the Suns and Dallas, with the injuries and the what ifs, I'm picking Dallas. I mean, because Luka is going to put on a show. He's going to put on a show. He plays the brightest when the game's the biggest. So,
yeah, I'm going with the chalk here. I'm going with the favorites. I'm going with Golden State because I picked them in the beginning to win the championship. So I'm sticking with that. And then on the other side, I'm going with the Suns. I'm just because I'm rooting for Chris Paul, and I think Dallas might be a year too early, and then they're missing a piece still. Mm-hmm. If they can get a piece in the offseason, they're going to be in the finals next year because Luka is just, I mean, he's the second most dominant player in the Western Conference behind Jokic. So he's carrying that team on his own. He needs some help. He won't be able to do it on his own all the way through. But to get them this far, a lot of respect, but this is where it ends. So
that's
on to the Eastern. What was that?
I was like, we have differences to so this is the thing.
Good. That's how it should be. Yeah,
it should be always.
So on to the East. The beasts of the East, the Celtics, swept as predicted the Nets. We both called that. The Nets you said the Nets didn't have any depth, and that showed. And really, what it came down to is, Kyrie was fasting. It really, really took a lot out of him. People say Jaylen Brown was fasting too, and what happened there, but Jaylen Brown had more help. Kyrie only had Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant even looked depleted. He was just out of gas. I don't know what was going on, but the Celtics beat him up. Every game they beat up Durant, and then Kyrie couldn't help out. So that was hate to say it, a pretty easy sweep for them. I know the games were tough, but I don't think there was never any question in my mind, even in the last second bucket, that the Celtics will win all these games. Tatum is playing at his mama mentality, Kobe level. That makes me think that they're going to give the Bucks a run here, but we can get into that one. And then the other series, Philly and Toronto. Man, poor Embiid. He got beat up in that series, and he's out here indefinitely. So let's get started on those.
So the Milwaukee Bucks are the defending champions, so you have to go through them, and they're a tough play. I mean, they play you tough, but I think the Celtics now have found how to win, and how to win like convincingly. Brandon Tatum, as we always say, has found his inner Mamba mentality, so he doesn't care. Like he's at a level now that he's going to take over the game in the fourth quarter, and they play smart. So the way they guarded Durant, Marcus Smart too. Even though I hate to say his name, but you have to give credit where credit is due. But they're going to guard. I think they're going to guard Giannis how they guarded Durant, the same length, to try to put not double team him, but spacing double him. Meaning, whenever Giannis gets the ball, they're going to play kind of like a zone kind of scheme to make him shoot the ball instead of driving it into the lane. And that's where Giannis is very weak at. They're trying to they want to turn him into a jump shooter. And I think they're going to do it. And with Jaylen Brown and all the other pieces that the Celtics have, it matches up pretty well with the Bucks. They're like a 1-for-1 when you're going down the talent and the shooting and timely scoring. Now Tatum is like, you can fairly say he has the Kobe mentality, the Mamba mentality already in him. So you're not going to stop him, and he doesn't want to be stopped, and you can't. So I'm going to pick the Celtics to win this in 6.
Yeah, I could see that, especially with Middleton being out, and he's out for the series. That's already been called.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's going to be tough for the Bucks to hang in there with them. The Celtics are complete. They're healthy. They've got Jason Tatum playing at an elite Kobe-like level. Mm-hmm. And they've got the other guys playing their roles. Everybody's on that team is playing at a high level right now. So can Giannis hang in there without the help? It's tough to say.
Yeah.
I'm picking them, though. I'll pick them in 7. This is gonna be a tough series, but Giannis, I think with them getting over the hump last season, he's gotten to that level where I don't think he can be stopped. With them getting there, I know they're gonna throw everything at him, but I think he has what it takes to overcome it by himself. I mean, he's got Holiday for some help. He's got Lopez out there shooting. He's got Connaughton. He makes some threes here and there too. It's gonna be tough, but I think he can do it. I believe in Giannis.
You believe in Giannis. I believe in Tatum. I
do too. So I'm not making this pick not expecting the Celtics to have a chance. Of course they do. Of course, I don't hate your pick of them in 6 at all. I could totally see it. 100% I could see that.
But it's the Giannis factor that's kind of throwing a little bit. Yeah, I can see that too. But I just feel that, like, for something, they like the Celtics have figured it out. Like they figured something out, and it's working. And they're on a high after winning. They're going in like, we swept the team that people thought are going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals.
I expect the Celtics Warriors Finals. I expect that, but I'm still.
Do you? Okay.
I'm still picking the Bucks. Whoever wins this series will win the East, because on the other side, I mean.
Yeah, I mean. That I know you don't want to. That series is gone. Without Embiid, I think Philly's done.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
Yeah,
but Miami, I've been hating on them. I can't anymore. I wouldn't be surprised if they swept the Sixers. I could totally see it. I don't know how long Embiid is going to be out. I don't know that him being there will make that much of a difference. Miami might be too deep for them, and definitely very well coached. I would not be surprised if they sweep him, even if Embiid comes back. I'll predict that.
Yeah, so I will say this. I've never been a Doc Rivers fan in the playoffs, because he doesn't win in the playoffs. He'll take a team to the playoffs, but I don't think he knows how to win in the playoffs, and that's where he lacks. It's not about the talent. He has all the talent in the world. I mean, you had the second best center in the league playing with you, but he's injury prone now. You can say he's injury prone because he's been injured in the playoffs, and he's and these injuries are not like ticky injuries. They're like significant. That can like cost you your career. I mean, your orbital bone, I mean, that's your eye socket.
They need Harden to score 60 every game to have a shot, and I don't know that Harden exists anymore. And that Harden never existed in the playoffs. So
yeah, it's one of those things. It's just
they don't have a chance.
No, they don't have a chance, and I agree. I think it'll be like a. I don't think even a 6-game series. I think it'll be a sweep. A
sweep or a gentleman's sweep, one or the other.
Yeah, one or the other. Yeah,
and then the Bucks or Celtics will take out the Heat. So that's where my respect for the Heat ends, is the next series.
Exactly. but I mean, I'm done with that. I mean, that series is going to be. I don't think I'm even going to watch that series now.
Heat Sixers. Yeah, I don't have an interest in that either.
Yeah.
The Heat are not my favorite to watch. Kind of boring, and then those games shouldn't be any good either. So. Mm-mm. Yeah, so we've got so we're going to have our predictions say either you've got the Celtics and Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. I'll have the Bucks and Heat Eastern Conference Finals, and take the Bucks there. So it'll be, in my opinion, it'll be Bucks Warriors in the finals, and we'll see how this all plays out.
I'll say, I might even say the Grizzlies and the Celtics in the finals.
Yeah, and that would be a highly entertaining series. Yeah. Physical, good basketball,
good basketball up and down. We'll see. I mean, the weird stuff has happened in the NBA playoffs.
Yes, indeed. But like I mentioned in the beginning of the first segment, we're also the NHL season has wrapped up here. The Caps know who they're going to be facing off against, and it's the Florida Panthers. Uh, that's going to be a tough series. The Caps didn't close out the regular season as strong as I wish they would have. Still questions around the goaltender. The coach was on the Junkies this past week, and he didn't let out who his guy is going to be in the playoffs, but it cannot be Samsonov. It can't be him. You have to go with Vitek, who also, I mean, neither one of them have separated themselves, but I think the more steady hand throughout the season is Vanacek. So I think you got to go there. And like we've said all throughout that it can go either way in the playoffs. This is going to be a tough series, though. Florida is not a joke. They don't have the playoff experience that the Caps do. That's what's going to keep the Caps in it. The series should go 7 games, though. So we'll have to see what they can do there.
I am very disappointed how the regular season ended for them. They just were lackluster against the Islanders. Like, you can't lose back-to-back games with the same score. Like, you have to learn something, and this is what the playoffs are going to teach you. You play the same team 7 times, and out of that, 4 of them you have to win, or you play 7 or 6. So Florida has won the President's Trophy. So with that coming in mind, and with their lack of playoff experience, I think the Caps can win in 7 games. But without solidifying the goalie and their defense, it's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough 7 games, a very tough 7 games.
Tough and potentially physical, because for the Caps to have a chance, they're going to have to beat them up. The Panthers are fast. They're a fast team, and they can put up some score. They can put the score up there too. So the Caps are going to have to beat them up. We need Willie to have a big series. Ovi, of course, has to do Ovi things. And then, I mean, on the defensive end, you gotta rough these guys up. Don't let them camp out in front of the net. You got to beat them up, and then that's going to be your only chance to have a shot.
We need a lot of secondary scoring and secondary, like kind of defensive minded things, like block shots, everything. Frustrate the Florida Panthers as much as you can, because you can infiltrate the same amount of scoring on them that they can do on you. You shouldn't be afraid of that. You just have to impose your will.
I don't know about that. If I'm them, I'm trying to play some Ron Rivera style hockey there. Keep the score down and keep it close, and then hope Obi can pull out some magic there. But then, so predictions.
A Caps in 7.
Yeah, I'll go Caps in 6.
Caps in 6. Okay, I mean,
just to be different.
Yeah. Just to be different. Yeah. Or it can be a sweep. Who knows? I mean,
out here, yeah. I mean, Caps hopefully. Out here in Colorado, we've got the Avalanche matching up against the Predators in the first round. Ooh. The Avalanche struggled mightily to close out the season, even worse than the Caps. I think they lost. They went on a losing streak here, starting with the Caps. They lost the Caps game that we went to, and then they didn't win a game after that. They were resting guys, but still, some of the games were ugly too. And they lost to Nashville 2 nights ago. So that's going to be Nashville is always a solid team. It's going to be tough because of the way they close out the regular season. Hopefully some of these guys are going to come back here for game 1, but they're the President's Trophy team winners this season, but you don't want to go into the playoffs looking like this. They're really not looking good from any aspect right now. They're not looking good. I don't even know what to predict. I don't know with them looking so bad. I want to say they're going to win it. You hate to see the President's Trophy team go out in the first round, but it can happen. The Nashville can get them, but I'm going to predict sweep, Avalanche sweep. That's what I'm predicting. I think they'll get on track here. I think they'll quiet the critics here. They'll be fine.
I think so too, because when you're resting players, you're not playing your best. You're playing your minor league guys coming up from like your AHL teams to give them an idea, and then you extend your bench out to those individuals. You can pick extra players, so they'll be fine. I mean, they know it's playoff hockey. They know what they've done. Yeah, I mean, I have no doubts in my mind that Colorado won't come back up and say, okay, but hockey's a funny sport. The luck can swing either.
In the playoffs, so. All it takes is a hot goalie.
Yes. And I hope Vitek Vanacek is the hot goalie. So.
And I hope Darcy Kemper is that guy too.
And so we can meet in the finals.
That'd be great. That would be an outstanding series to watch because the game was fabulous.
Yes,
it was
amazing.
playoff style in that game. So
But
last to mention for this week, for me, we've got the Nationals coming out here to Colorado next week, and I'm going to check out at least one of those games here. They're playing a midweek series, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, three games out here in Colorado. So I might, if I can, no, the Thursday game's a day game, so I can't check that one. But I'll try to catch the first two and then maybe post some pictures or something and report back. Hopefully, we can get a baseball from one of the Nats players. I'll be wearing my Nats hat, so yeah,
that'd be nice. That'd be really cool.
That'll be pretty cool to come out here. See them come out here a mile high, hit some home runs. So
nice.
That'll be sweet. Seeing my little boy out there. We should have some nice weather next week too, so that'll be fun.
Very cool. Yeah, Orioles. I have nothing to say it again. They're just it is what it is.
Stinky, and their ace is out for the season with Tommy John. So
yeah, I mean, hey, you know what? As I always said, there's always next year.
Speedy recovery, John means you'll be fine.
Yes.
You'll be good.
You'll be good.
Well, that's all we've got for this week. Last words.
Peace and love, man. That's it. Peace and love.
Like, subscribe, follow, support us. We'll support you. Talking Hats, we are out for this week. Thank y'all for sticking with us. Peace out.
Peace.